Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Baka podcast.
Baka. It's amazing how every time you open your mouth, you prove you're an idiot.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to a very special mini-sode of Baka, because we're talking about something controversial. We're going to get nasty comments. They're probably going to be aimed at me. Whoa. Come at me.
100%.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. It'll probably all be from you and I, though, Jason.
Well, then it's just a normal day for me.
Yeah.
Hi guys, we are Baka. We normally talk about an anime that we watched over the past 2 weeks, but we do these mini-sodes every other week to talk about random topics, usually related to anime, this one a little less so. We want to weigh in on the very heavy topic of video game microtransactions that has been obsessed over by the internet over the past couple weeks, especially with releases like Call of Duty, Battlefront 2,
Shadows of War.
And so we are all gamers, if you can't tell when you listen to our intros.
Let me tell you a little bit about RimWorld.
Yeah. And so we wanted to weigh in. And to do that, I do have to let these guys talk this time. First off, we have the booster pack to my collectible card game. Jeremy, how you doing?
I'm doing good.
Is it Yu-Gi-Oh?
Oh, God. No. No, let's see. If it was a collectible card game, what would it be? I would have to pick the Elder Scrolls Online CCG. Not the online game, but like they actually do have an Elder Scrolls CCG.
Right.
I would pick that. I've never played it, but I just
Troy
love
already
Elder
fell
Scrolls.
asleep.
Yeah, I know.
No.
Elder what?
I was going to say, my first collectible card game was the Star Wars one, which was really bad, the first Star Wars collectible card game. So bad.
So bad.
I know that game. I still have a set.
My buddy got 4 Vaders.
Oh, jeez.
I had Son of Skywalker. It was my most proudest moment. And then I went to Magic the Gathering for a while, which is actually a pretty fun game.
I tried that. Yeah. It was pretty fun.
You want what have you been doing, or do you just want to get into this video game stuff?
So really, really quickly, I've been playing Invisible Ink, another tactical game, and I have to give it the highest recommendations. I know everybody's probably already played it.
I've heard good things.
Oh, it's really fun. Really, really fun.
Okay. Then we have the
How am I going to be insulted this week?
DLC saddle to my Skyrim.
You son of a... You know, if I didn't know your mom, I would be really... Anyway.
I know.
All right.
I am proud of that one, though.
That was good.
Well,
That's like
I was gonna talk about my experience with DBZ Super, because I actually am enjoying it, even though
hold on. I just want to point out the irony that every anime episode you talk about video game, but we're going to talk about video games.
No. I was going to talk about anime, because I found it interesting last week. I was talking about shonen fatigue, but I would like to tell you that RimWorld last week came out with a new. They turned from alpha to beta. And now they've got like tornadoes and orbital bombardment and
not even published yet.
New afflictions. Oh, it's so good. It's basically the PUBG of your stupid, meaningless Game of the Year award. Anyways.
Oh, God.
Yeah, fantastic.
Started on that.
That is a different mini-sode.
Yeah.
A mini-sode which you are wrong, my friend.
Yes.
You know, I only sent that just because I knew it would piss you off. There was only one PC game on it. I didn't even care.
There was a whole Reddit forum about why PUBG should not have been in that list.
Okay, my name is Troy. I have been playing a lot of video games, but I think they're going to come up in the minisode. So I will tell you, I watched Baby Driver, which was great, and The Dark Tower, which was not. And that's about all I had to say about it.
Poor Dark Tower.
Yeah. Okay, so let's get into it, guys. Microtransactions, like I said, they've been taking the internet by storm, so much so that game companies are changing policies based on crowd reactions we have been talking a lot about it because one of us buys a lot of games with microtransactions in it. And, some of us were, making political statements and some of us were betraying those people. But in all seriousness, this is a big hot topic. We do play a lot of video games, so we wanted to weigh in. We're going to talk about microtransactions and loot boxes. I put on the list like the different types. There's cosmetic only, there's progression types, there's loot box types, there's loot box without microtransactions, loot boxes with microtransactions. Where do you guys want to start?
I would love to start with this one. I am a huge supporter of game companies that not only treat their communities with decency, or even have their communities in mind, because there's lots of companies out there that just don't give a crap about who their community is. They just want money to roll in. But I also have a big issue with companies blatantly putting a product out there that they know is merely for the cash value. And EA got lucky, in my opinion, in getting a Star Wars title clinched with their first couple Battlefronts back in 2009 was it?
Right. I'm assuming they spent a lot of money to get it.
Right. So when it comes to microtransactions, I have two schools of thought. Either you're going to put a game up for a particular price, and that is the price for the game. If there are so WoW did it correctly. You still have to buy WoW. It's at a fairly reduced price, especially for their older content. And there's lots of stuff that do not allow you to get ahead of other players that you can buy for real money for convenience purposes.
Right, you can level up to current game level.
Right, and when you do, you get gear that's appropriate for your level to start getting into areas where you can start progressing in gear. So you're at the bottom of that top level. Anyways.
It's just like, hey, I didn't want to play Mist of Pandaria. Can I skip those levels into the new content that looks good?
So my school of thought with microtransactions is you've got to pay your developer somehow, right? So either you're going to give a price for your game and then you give the product to your customers, or you can go, hey, my game is free to play, and then here's the store that if you want to support us, please buy these items. They're not going to give you an advantage. They're not going to be tied with your progression. They're not even going to help you in any meaningful way. They're just going to look really cool. And also our artists, you can show appreciation for our artists that put out really cool products. An example would be League of Legends. Some of their skins are pieces of art, in my opinion. Like, they look really, really good. You don't need it to play the game. In fact, you don't even need it at all for anything unless you want to, support the developers and you think it looks really cool. I think that's an appropriate use of microtransactions.
I agree with that. There's actually the latest episode of Crate and Crowbar. I'll look up what number it is. They were talking about this very thing, and they made a really interesting point. I think it was Chris that brought up that it's almost as if the AAA companies have spawned a new sort of tier. And so EA and Activision, especially if you look at the two of them, they're so big, they can maybe min and max the income and expenditures to be able to get their profits as high as possible. So, I'm not going to put it in the same such nice terms as he did, but I think that's really what's going on here is you have a situation where they're looking at, well, what do the charts say? How much can we get out of the general playing population, and how much can we get out of the whales? And, versus a subscription fee versus, any other type of long-term, long-tail income, nothing can really beat this. So let's make sure we pump in enough of this pay to win, and bam, we min-maxed our income. I agree with you that it should essentially just be cosmetics. It's basically what you're saying. I actually even have a little bit of issue with even in general, when you have a competitive system and you have any kind of progression locked away in loot boxes, even if it's not something you can buy with real money, even if it's something you can buy with in-game currency, I actually think that's not necessarily the most fair either.
Having RNG as part of your progression, it's like, hey, good for you. You rolled that awesome gun. Good for you.
I think in game systems where the primary mode is single player, and there's like, with MMOs where you have like Destiny or you have World of Warcraft or any other MMO, right? Where outfitting your character and running them around and doing things is going to be a fun experience in and of itself. And it's not always necessarily that you're going up against other players in PvP that this equipment is going to shine. I think that that's totally fine and totally fair.
Like Path of Exile.
Exactly. If you're going to do some kind of like progression mechanics, whether it's microtransactions or not, if you're going to do it there, that's totally fine. I get that.
Yeah, because literally every item that drops is RNG.
Yeah.
Like literally everything.
Yeah, but if you're dealing with an entirely PvP game, this is really just the multiplayer arena that you're setting up here. I think that you're whether you have microtransactions involved or whether it's in-game currency, that RNG, or even if it's earned, because it is a combat environment between you and another player. If you're good enough to beat them already, and then you get some special gear as a bonus, as an award for being good enough to beat them, it just compounds your ability to beat them in the next match and makes it even harder for them to wind up getting any kind of equipment that would bring them up closer to the level to provide a challenge. So I think it kind of unbalances the system more.
Now, what if let me clarify. Were you talking about RNG there, or just standard progression unlocking stuff?
Standard progression unlocking stuff within a multiplayer environment where it's PvP. So like it wouldn't be applicable in a case of where it's Destiny and, you could be choosing to do PvP, or you could be saying, right, I want to go on this crazy raid adventure and do co-op or whatever.
When I play Call of Duty, I, reached this level. I've now unlocked the new assault rifle.
Exactly.
What if they're not necessarily a better gun though?
How would you describe that?
Okay, so just so you know, everyone should know we've been talking about this almost for a week now. So there's been a lot of inside discussion. So I went to Call of Duty and I looked at the guns and their different progression levels and which ones were currently winning in the meta. It was the second submachine gun you unlock out of, I think there's 4 for each class. It was the third assault rifle and the second LMG and the second sniper rifle. So in Call of Duty, it's not every time you unlock, you get a better gun. They actually tend to just be more specialized. Like this has a higher rate of fire, but it's going to kick more. And so a higher skill player might be able to handle that and do more with it. But a meta evolves around the guns just like any game. And it's not necessarily the final gun is almost never the number one. They do work on gun balance, so the guns that are winning in the meta will change.
So that's different because that's closer to HOTS and League of Legends. Because you have different characters that people don't have access to because they haven't played enough to unlock those characters. Those characters aren't necessarily better, but they might be better for the meta.
Right. Now, they also have, like, I have to use this gun get a certain amount of kills with it, and then I'll unlock a grip for it so now I can have slightly less recoil and stuff like that. There's all kinds of little stuff in Call of Duty. But I did go and double check those guns. None of the heavy meta were the number one guns. In fact, the assault rifle was the farthest one down. It was the second to last that's currently in the meta. And anytime someone shoots me with it, I tell them they're a punk. Why are you playing meta, man?
So that's actually apples to apples with like League of Legends and Heroes of the Storm. That's apples to oranges with what Battlefield 2 was doing.
Well, now
Battlefront.
Battlefront. Yeah, Star Wars Battlefront.
One thing I'm really curious about is I had read, I would like to know how much you guys know about this, but the cards that you can boost up to like level 4, I had read that they do things like increase the speed of your turning in an X-Wing. So like at level 3, you could be a 20% boost. And at level 4, I read somebody said that it would be a 40%. I don't know how accurate that is, but that seems like a crazy bonus.
Or like with Boba Fett, while you're jumping, you are 50% more resilient to shots.
Right.
Those are huge.
And there's literal stuff like you have more health and your abilities cool down faster and stuff like that.
See, those seem a bit weighted too strongly. Like I don't see like
Also,
if you
to
were
have
to
them
look at
RNG.
So
Yeah.
I have been playing Star Wars Battlefront, but only for like 2 days out of the time of recording this.
Oh, hold on. So you bought the game?
Yeah, I did.
I gotta go.
The past week, that's all I've heard. And when they kill you, they do tell you what the other guy's cards are, and I'm sure that's
a
don't you
tactic
wish you
too.
had these cards.
Yes.
Yeah, for sure. But I mean, I'm doing just fine with no cards.
So what do you mean just fine?
I'm getting about at the end of the score screen, based on how we do, my team's winning probably more than 50%. I'm getting about mid-tier.
What are you playing on? PlayStation or
PlayStation?
Okay, on PlayStation, how did you do in your other shooty game on PlayStation?
What do you mean, like Call of Duty?
Yeah, like how do you do?
Oh, that's hard. That's hard.
Really,
they're really different, and just when I play Call of Duty, I play to win. I've been playing Call of Duty for almost 10 years now with my brother, and I'm usually on the top. And if I'm not, I'm pissed.
So here's a better question. Those guys that kill you and you see they've got like 1 or 2 purple star cards, do those guys tend to have a significant amount of more kills than say you and a couple other guys?
To be honest, I haven't paid attention to who's
okay. I think that's a better metric to look at than when like team win and loss, because you could have like 4 dudes on the other team that have like 3 purple star cards, but if the rest of their team are newbies and you've got a bunch of mediocre guys, you guys are probably going to win just due to
and I'm sure my MMR is also
cohesion.
putting me with people who aren't very good because I'm not very good. That's also going to be a thing. The only thing I will add is that I don't think I've ever lost a battle because I felt like my character was inferior. I've always felt like, oh, that guy beat me because he's got a sniper rifle and has been watching this spot for the past 10 seconds, and I just stood in it without map awareness.
But I don't think that's what people are concerned about. What people are concerned about is if you have 2 players with the exact same skill level,
right,
and one person has star cards and the other person doesn't.
I'm saying to me the meta seems to be more team oriented than individual oriented. So even if someone is more powerful, it doesn't seem to be affecting as much as long as I'm standing with my team that I spawned with, then I'm more powerful to take on enemies. Whereas, but it's hard to tell. That is not like for sure. Those cards aren't affecting things. They could definitely be. And like I said, I've seen purple cards come up when I've died and been like, well, I have 1 gray card, so that's fair.
Right.
But I'm just saying, and all from my point of view, and Jeremy has pointed out, and probably fairly, that because I bought it, I'm probably being a little kinder to it than most people are going to be. That it just hasn't felt like a factor, but I've only played multiplayer like 3 or 4 times, 5 times. I really bought the game for the single player. Just fantastic.
See, and now that they've actually backtracked and they have said they're going to be removing, or they have already removed the payable option.
No. They disabled it. Let's be clear.
They
made the intention that they're going to re-enable it in the future, which is shady to me. But to be fair, they had a launchable game launching. How do you change code to remove that? Right. So that's fair, but then for them to go, oh, by the way, we're going to re-enable it in the future.
And if they re-enable
they're going to retool it, but
if they turn it to cosmetics, I'm fine.
I'd be fine with it.
So I want to. You guys both kind of give your opinions, and I actually really agree with most of what you guys have said, especially about microtransactions. And I really didn't like Battlefront 2's plan going in. I was totally against it. But the only thing I feel like I'm different as is what Jason kind of started out with is he expects his game company to care about the customer, and I like that, but I kind of go into games with the understanding that they're trying to get my money. When I pull up a free to play mobile game and there's definitely pay to win in it, I'm not mad at them. They're a free to play phone game, and I knew what I was getting into when I turned it on. And then I hit a paywall, and I'm like, nah, I'm not paying you. Bye. And I do. Okay, so I think EA was scummy in their initiation, but when Call of Duty is like, hey, wouldn't you like more skins? Look at this guy's skins. I don't mind that, but I don't. If the money's going to like a CEO's pocket, that makes me mind it more. If it's going into the DLC that comes out in 3 months, I'm like, hey, I hope you do find a whale, and my game gets better because of it.
Before we move on, can someone explain to me what whale is?
Yeah,
a whale is a person who invests massive quantities, like thousands of dollars, into the premium content. And they've done a lot of studies on this, and they've found that the whales, they don't need very many of them. They make them so much money
and that's where the money comes from. It has nothing to do with the guy who actually spends $1 on your microtransaction. It's the guy who's like, you know what? I'm just going to throw $100 into this game.
Yeah.
And they only need that to happen a couple times, and then they've hit profit.
Yep. That's why, like in the MechWarrior game that we were playing for a while, they rely on whales too. Even though their content is only partially pay to win. Like if you think
all free to play games really need whales to succeed.
Yeah. And I was actually thinking that, like, when it comes to the MMR and stuff, they do some shady stuff, and it's still inside of inside of Battlefront. Yeah, Star Wars Battlefront 2. I always want to call it Battlefield as well.
We can just call it Star Wars. I think everyone's going to know
Star Wars. Star Wars 2. I think there's a lot of connections that are still left up that were built to try and channel people towards that premium content, and that stuff's going to be there. Like you said, seeing the cards of the people that killed you in Call of Duty. I think I read that it was opening loot boxes in public, and you actually get awards if you watch the right number of loot boxes be open in public, you get your daily quest fulfilled.
So my God! Wait, hold on. Everything he just said is true, but the context is completely missing.
Okay, please fill in the context.
Okay, so there are daily quests that you go to sign up for. That's the only way I've been able to find to earn loot boxes. I can't figure out where to buy them from. Not that I want to, but I was looking actually for this minisode. Mm-hmm. I think they might going to turn it on in the future, but I can't find it right now. You cannot buy loot boxes. But these quests also do stuff like give you experience, and there's something called social points, so I don't know what they do.
God, but so social.
The quests are optional. And you get to choose which ones you want. And the first time I turned it on, there was a quest: go watch someone open a loot box.
What is this?
But hold on.
It's such mental manipulation. It's so blatant, so clear. Go on. Sorry.
And it gave me a reward when I did, and I moved on. Now, I do want to say, though, I actually like the social space opening loot boxes because I play Call of Duty with my brother for the past 6 years. Call of Duty area. And when the loot boxes came out, not a big fan of them, but it was cool to open loot boxes and be like, hey, what'd you get? Oh, I got this cool skin. What'd you get? Oh, I just got a stupid calling card. Now we don't have to describe it to each other over a comm. We can just open them side by side and be like, oh, look at you, stupid idiot. You didn't get it.
But I'm okay with the RNG of the loot box being things like skins.
Yes, and Call of Duty is completely cosmetic.
It's completely cosmetic.
Yeah.
Last Call of Duty was not, and Call of Duty had a huge drop in their player base because of it. They had actual guns that you unlocked from it, and some were meta strong and some weren't. But people hated the fact that, oh, there's a guy shooting me with a gun that I can't get unless I get lucky, which means I need to pay you money to raise that luck. And the player base dropped, and Call of Duty World War II went back to completely cosmetics. You can get different looking guns, but the stats are always the same. And they had doubled their sales in the opening weekend from the last game. Mm-hmm. Some would say it's because they got rid of the jetpacks, but I'd like to think the microtransaction bettering. So
people want a fair battleground. That's what they want. They want to be able to fight fair.
But so okay, you described phone games with pay to win. I'm okay with that. I played Heroes Charge for a long time. I ended up spending $35 on that game. And I was okay spending that money because not only did I feel I got the value out of it, I enjoyed the game enough that I wanted to support the developers.
Right.
I didn't pay for the initial game. EA was expecting people to drop $60 to $100 on this game with a pre-order or after pre-order, and then with these shady tactics of getting people to pay to win. That's what I had a problem with. If you're gonna go microtransactions with a pay to win system, don't charge for your game. Because or charge for what?
drop the charge for microtransactions and just make it a flat subscription.
God, I hate subscriptions.
Rift
Yeah, but
Rift
it
tried
gets
that, and actually
gets rid of it.
it was pretty rewarding. You paid for the game for Rift, which it's a WoW clone, and there were RNG loot boxes you could get with in-game currency that you could either buy or earn. And actually, the rate that you earned it, very few people decided to buy it unless they felt like buying it. It wasn't necessary, but with your subscription loyalty, they would give you boxes.
There you go.
They would just give it to you. And yeah, that would encourage you to want to buy more. But at least it was, it felt like a give and take from the developers instead of a take.
Mm-hmm.
I want to add just one quick loop back on the Call of Duty loot boxes. And like I said, I don't have a problem with Activision trying to trick me into buying loot boxes. Even though I can't figure out how to buy them. Like
someone from Activision, email us.
So maybe that's not even a thing. There's a couple of things in that social space where they're like, "Hey, go do this," and I feel like they're just like, "Did you know you can go do this? We want you to know you can throw grenades into those tires to practice your throw. So go throw 5 into a tire." And I don't know what the loot box thing was. That like, "Hey, did you know you can go watch loot boxes?" The only reason that I think it's not that big a deal is because it was optional. It wasn't like, hey, just so you know, you have to go watch loot boxes today. It was like, hey, if this is something you're interested in, you can pick this contract, you can get these orders, go find someone to do it with, and then get a reward.
I could just imagine if Join Match was grayed out until you went to watch it.
Seriously, then you would have a major problem. Or if you even like you didn't choose your orders, like here's your 3 quests for today, if you even want any rewards. But I get to choose my rewards, and I get to choose what I have to do, and I don't have to choose that one. So I was
wondering. It's not like HOTS where you get your 3 daily quests, and until you fulfill them, they don't disappear.
Now you also get. To be fair, you do get a bonus if you complete all your daily quests.
Okay.
I don't play that much to ever do that because you have 24 hours to do all 6, and usually there's 1 or 2 that are very hard to do. Sniper rifles are the devil to me.
I can't snipe.
So I don't know. I don't have a problem with it because it's with that one. That's all.
It increases your social score. That's what it is. I'm reading an article about it right now, and watching other people open their loot crates increases your social score.
Which is like one of the worst.
It increases your chance of getting better loot box contents. That's what social score does.
Okay, but that's good.
It's like raising rarity.
Okay,
if they get you to watch it, I get it now.
Let's bring this.
If I can't buy a loot box, what does that matter?
Right. No, I need to look at that more.
Let's bring this back around a little bit. I would like to. I don't know. Besides, I love Star Wars, and they're holding my child hostage. Do you have any other justifications for why you decided to buy?
How could you do this, Troy?
No, that's not fair.
I do. Part of it is I am a horrible person, and I openly admit it. To
viewers,
fair,
you heard him.
This is not the first battle of the gaming community. Okay, it started with DLC is the devil. Guys, don't buy the DLC. Everyone bought the DLC. It's everywhere. It's still everyone still buys the DLC. Yep. Don't pre-order. Don't get pre-order bonuses. Guys, pre-ordering is the devil. Everyone still pre-orders. Pre-order bonuses are still everywhere.
Yep.
Now it's microtransactions. Microtransactions are the devil. So this is where we draw the line in the sand. And anyone who crosses that line is the devil. Wait, what about the DLC? And that's another thing. DLC to me is way more annoying than microtransactions. I would rather play Star Wars, and like I said, I play Star Wars. I play Star Wars casually, so I don't really care. The fact that they got rid of the DLC and every map I'm going to get for free, and if they're trying to make that money back through microtransactions, I'm kind of okay with that.
So
I hate DLC.
Here's how I would fix EA's issue currently. The money you get from each match, if instead of having to open a loot crate to get RNG, to get crafting material, to then craft my gun, if I could just then spend those coins, instead of getting crafting material and RNG, I could choose between RNGing for star cards and getting a new gun. If I could just spend that money on guns instead of remove crafting material altogether, or keep it in and only have it for attachments, and lower it like 45.
So what I've played of Star Wars, single player is great. Gameplay of the multiplayer is great. I actually hate the system. Every time I get a card, I'm like, I don't know if this is important or I care about this, or do I put my money into this? Where do I spend my money? I don't even want to bother with that stuff. I just want to play Star Wars game. And when I play the Star Wars game, I have a lot of fun, and I don't play the Star Wars Battlefront like I play Call of Duty. I'm not playing to win. Actually, when I'm editing this podcast, I will be playing Star Wars because I can just turn off the screen, switch over and edit something, and then jump back into Star Wars. My character didn't move or he died, and I don't care.
That's fine, but if for someone that wants, so let's say someone likes the heavy, they love playing the heavy from the last game. They like the way they love the way it feels in this one, right? The gameplay's better. I want to get the next heavy gun. I want to get the next star card that's going to help with my heavy. There's so many other star cards, and getting crafting material is so difficult.
Yeah.
Being able to focus on one class is near impossible unless obviously I can't buy loot boxes anymore, but I would have had to just purchase loot box after loot box after loot box until I got my character to where I wanted him.
And even now it's still annoying, even without the microtransactions.
Whatever happened to the games where if I wanted to better my character, I had to go play him more?
Mm-hmm. They did they made a change where they were supposed to help that, but I haven't been paying attention because, again, that's not what I care about when I play. So I haven't. I understand. Right. It's a horrible system. I'm not disagreeing with you. It's just not ruining what's fun for me.
It's the progression that irritates me, because when I play games, especially with an RPG element, which this game has, I want a very satisfying, very predictable, and understandable system to upgrade or get better or level up or whatever game it is. And if it's tied to RNG, unless I go into it like with that expectation, like Path of Exile, how am I supposed to predictively upgrade my character if I'm spending the coins that I earn on loot boxes that give me star cards for something else? So I know we've beaten that dead horse to death and beyond. But
the thing where we're separate on is I'm not disagreeing with you. I actually 100% agree with you. But when I sit in that X-Wing and fly around, I'm still having fun. And what I get to that grindy system, and I'm like, yeah, whatever. This is the worst. Okay, I'm back in the X-Wing. Yeah, I'm having fun again. Thank you.
And I think that's where they excelled, is they made all the reviewers I was hearing before this fiasco. This is an amazing game.
It's got such bad scores, and every review is like, it's really fun, but there's this bad system.
Yeah. Well, and I mean, it can be enough to ruin it, which is really sad. I'm glad that it kind of resolved itself pretty well. Whether Disney twisted their arm or whatever happened, but
that's the rumors.
Yeah, I mean, I'm glad things happened the way they did. And I know you're suspicious still, Jason, and I totally see the grounds for it. But I would actually almost, I kind of want to reward them by getting it, but I don't know.
I've actually thought about getting it myself, but I'm gonna wait.
Yeah, I think waiting to see what they do with that microtransaction when they turn it back on, and honestly, letting them balance, if they stick to their word and balance out this grindy progression system and make it so that it doesn't matter what star cards you're getting, all the characters are leveling up so that you're satisfied.
Yeah.
And everyone's basically coming out equal in the end anyway. Like I said, to me, that wasn't the kicker. I honestly bought this game. Me and my best friend, who loves Star Wars since we were little wee children, saw this game. We're like, we're getting it. It's ties. We talk about lore all the time. And it's like, hey, this story has lore. We're getting it, you and me, and we're going to talk about it. And that was all that ever mattered to me. And then, like I said, I play the multiplayer to feel the feeling of, oh man, I'm in the X-Wing. This is the best. Mm-hmm. Oh, that TIE Fighter is way superior to me because of those stupid star cards, but I'm still in the X-Wing. and that's what it is for me. And that's a very personal decision. Where I'm not like, why isn't everyone having fun like I am? Like, of course you're not. That you're not me. You don't have a very different relationship with this game. It's a very specific. And we've brought up Shadow of War. While I love Shadow of Mordor, I had nothing to do with Shadow of War because it won't have that same fun for me because of their
Works in a crate.
I was ready to put my money down for that game the next time I was going to do a game purchase. And as soon as you told me about that, I started looking at reviews. I started looking at scores. And it's not nearly as heavy as what EA had designed. And in fact, you can go into it without ever purchasing from that box. And you can complete the game and all its content and level up as much as you want. But it does tick that boycott box for me.
Yep.
And I'm going to have to really consider whether I'm going to ever get it.
Yeah, it's a symptom that is just overtaking gaming in general lately, from the AAA studios especially. And it's unfortunate to see. I think it's also unfortunate because it's hard sometimes to distinguish between what is an attempt at doing something different from the standards, different from the norm when it comes from a developer's perspective. DICE has made comments in some of their responses that, we were trying to create a system that would encourage people to try different classes out. And I can see where they would be coming from as developers to be able to say that. But at the same time, people are going to naturally try them out. I mean, if you make these classes available, sure, they might say, hey, this is my favorite class, and they may stick to that. But eventually they might try them out. If they don't try them out, then they're loving the one that they've got, and you've succeeded at your job anyways. But I can feel for them as developers, because it's hard to not want to pave new ground. I speak as if I'm a developer, fasha. But I mean, I can think about it, and to try and pave new ground or try to do something different, and then get yelled at for it. But you don't know how much of that was influenced purely because of the money grabbing techniques involved in microtransactions.
I have a strong suspicion that they would have got a pass by the community, and this outrage would not have happened if their game was $10, $20 or free.
I agree with that.
If it was drastically reduced, I don't think there would be near this outcry.
There's also
look at KOTOR, right?
Right.
Yeah.
So there is an example right there that if you make it free to play, right, and then allow pay to win, it would work.
People give it a pass.
And to be devil's advocate, we don't know cost, but EA is the devil. It's probably all going to the CEO's pocket, right? I think the CFO has even been quoted as saying, like, it's about getting the money, guys.
And I understand where you've been
CFO to do that. I don't.
And I understand where you've been coming from all week. This mentality of people that want to hate on EA just to hate on EA.
Yeah.
And I would most of the time agree with you, especially if they don't. Okay, I will agree with you if they don't have reasons. But I would mostly agree with you if it wasn't EA. The problem is that EA has murdered company after company after company that I have loved in the past and ruined franchises that I've loved. They've done it over and over and over again. SimCity, Need for Speed.
Yeah, their company that got killed, those developers were tasked with making the flying in Battlefront 2. So that actually worked out for me.
It's okay. They were turned into Soylent.
They did a really good job. Right?
Game after game after game, company after company. They've just done awful things to these franchises. And
EA deserves the flack they're getting.
It's just unfortunate DICE has to be the front man and absorb all of it.
Right, and Star Wars, because I love it. That was a part of it. I want to see Star Wars do well because I don't want it to ever go away. I said enough on that. The one thing I do want to add before we try to turn this back to anime a little bit is there's other issues that we are actually not really touching on that some people have problems, like something that's gambling, basically, where children can get to it. And I actually think that even if it's cosmetics, if you have microtransaction loot boxes, you should be a rated M game. At least that'd be a step in the right direction. I'm fine if you're trying to touch my gambling addiction to get me to buy stuff. I'm an adult. A casino does that. That's fine.
It's regulated.
Right. Yeah. But there should be consideration to kids who don't know better going into this kind of stuff.
There's a lot of horror stories that have happened because of this, where kids have just spent money like crazy.
And it does, I mentioned collectible card games in the intro. That every time I start going through the progression of the logic of all this, I end up back at collectible card games in real world. Is it irresponsible for Magic the Gathering to sell booster packs to 12-year-olds? That is that is a real world loot box.
So, but to be fair, right, in order for them to purchase that, they've got to I guess you can buy cards online now, but
credit card.
In the old days, you had to go to a game shop and give them money in order to get a booster pack.
And I did that.
I think in that way it started from a safer place.
But I agree with you. It's the exact same system. Your progression in the game is tied to RNG and buying these things. The same thing happened with me with multiple different collectible card games, where I'm now, a new booster pack comes out and the power creep is so steep that I am now behind the curve because I haven't bought any of the new stuff. So then I have to buy the new stuff.
And it legit is pay to win. I mean, that's what they're based on.
Absolutely. First pay to win systems.
So when we take EA to task, do those factor in, or because they're not video games, it doesn't matter?
I think
anyone remember hating DLC and pre-order bonuses, or was that just me now?
I never hated DLC. I always thought DLC was cool because it was a bonus. But then I never really consumed a lot of the newest games as they came out. So for me, when there was an expansion pack, it was usually something significant. Like in Morrowind, it was the Tribunal and the Skyrim expansion for it. And other games too. There was always something big. Later on, it became these tiny things because of being able to just download them.
Skyrim tried the saddle thing. Obviously, it didn't work out, and they kind of dropped that stuff. But
I didn't even have Oblivion at the time.
Because
I didn't like it. Got rid of it.
But does Bethesda make that?
Yes.
Yeah.
Does Bethesda get a pass for trying something like that?
They got so much flack.
I think they had their time in the blistering hot.
That's just me devil advocating. Like I don't think I probably have bought it. Yeah, I bought these DLC. I still don't like it. And
it depends on how much it costs and what kind of content
and how much content you get. Yeah, are you getting your bang for your buck? And at first you weren't, and I do think it's a lot better now. And that's probably due to community and voting with your wallet.
I think DLC is more of a situation of the developer has an idea of what they want to produce. They may have even started on this extra stuff that they wanted to make. But if the game's not going to make any money, they're not going to finish making it, and they're not going to make it available.
Right, but there are a lot of examples of games where they had like a DLC already on the disc and you had to pay to unlock it.
In that kind of situation, I don't think it's a good idea. I think
it's the newest XCOM expansion. You'd gladly put down money for that, and I haven't heard one negative thing about it.
Oh, yeah. Well, like I said, that was an expansion that they made significantly after they released the full game.
Right.
And I love that. I think that's great because they're giving me more of what I love.
Okay, so I'm going to start pulling us to a close. Guys, just so you know, we are on a time limit, so not all our thoughts on, and I'm sure you do want to write horrible things to us in our YouTube comments.
It's good to get a comment.
I'm probably going to block them, to be fair, not for censorship, just because the little kids could come across this stuff. And so if you keep it constructive, it'll stay there. But if you're calling me or my friends bad words, it's not going to hang out. Hey guys, can you tie this to anime in any way? 1 minute.
I would not watch the next season episode of Dragon Ball Z if I had to buy a loot crate, and in the loot crate was RNG, whether I would get enough crafting material to then unlock the next episode.
That's right. Or the next fighting scene. Like, you get the rest of the episode, but you don't get the fighting scenes unless
you don't get the fight scene unless you get it by RNG. Okay.
Or you get the fight scene, but the big energy attack in the middle, not going to be there.
No effects.
I do think if this kind of thing somehow did tie to anime, it would show up in Shonen first.
Yeah, absolutely.
The only thing I thought when Jeremy proposed, like, hey, let's bring this back to anime because we're an anime podcast. My first thought was, well, we are seeing a lot of animes about MMO worlds show up now. That's a genre now.
That was what I was gonna say too.
I would love to see the villains like just have a team called the Whales, and they're just the bad guys who bought all the RNG packs, and so they have all the power, and the good guy has to beat them by being a true free to play,
by grinding.
That would be my anime pitch. Yeah.
You know what would be
great.
DLC considered though? Like with Is It Wrong to Pick Up Chicks in the Dungeon? You know how they had that side story for the girl? That would be that would be a DLC season, huh?
Totally. I was thinking the same thing about the video game MMO, stuck in a game world anime, and I think that they are the perfect situation to present the character of a player who struggles with, what if I bought that but I don't have any money? I could totally see, because I've been there.
The big antagonist, his name could be Eric Aaron.
Eric Aaron.
What his initials would be.
EA. Oh God, EA. Oh God. Yes.
I think that's a good stopping spot. I think we're good.
Yes.
Back to anime. We are currently watching Princess Principal. It's 12 episodes long, and we hope you're enjoying it. And we will be talking about that next week. If you want to comment on anything we talked about,
keep it constructive.
Yes,
yep,
please.
As we have tried to do.
And be respectful of other people's choices. I'm not your video game hero. I'm not here to save the video game world. I'm here to play Star Wars. You can reach us on our Twitter at Baka Podcast, or email the animebakaclub@gmail.com, or leave a comment wherever you found this. And we might get back to you this time. This is a maybe. But we appreciate you listening to three Bakas talk about subject matter way beyond our feeble selves.
Absolutely.
And with that, I think we should say goodbye.
Apparently this show is kid-friendly.
Yes.
It's PG-13.
Thanks for listening.
Don't be a whale. Or maybe do. I don't know.
Okay, that was a great note to go out on.
Just have fun. Sayonara.